Welcome to the Register's Report. My name is John Buckley. I'm the Register of Deeds of Plymouth County. This show is about Plymouth County real estate. Our headline for the month was Sales Down but Mortgages Up for August. This show is being taped in September. We're going to be reporting on the August recordings at the Registry of Deeds. I have a great guest in the second segment, Bob Gleason of Boston Connect Real Estate. We're talking about what is going on in the real estate market here in Plymouth County. And then we're going to talk about some of our Plymouth County and Plymouth Colony history. So let's go to the numbers. You're going to see a bar chart of activity at the registry for sales in August. There were 1,158 deeds recorded in August, more than the 1055 recorded in July, less than the 1196 deeds recorded in August of 2018, down 7% for the first 8 months of 2019. I'm going to bring up an image of the sales for Plymouth County. There are sales throughout Plymouth County. Every community had them. Plymouth being the largest number of sales, Brockton being second, though every community had sales to report. Next, you're going to see mortgages, and there's been a big burst in mortgages because of the low interest rates. Many people are refinancing, and if you haven't done that, I advise you to take a look at the rates, talk to your mortgage lender, and see whether it makes sense for you to do that. There were 2,240 mortgages recorded in August, more than the 2,212 in July, up 17% over last August, which were 1,919 mortgages. And for the first 8 months of the calendar year, up 5% over last year. Again, if you haven't refinanced, take a look at it. You may save yourself some money. We always talk about foreclosure deeds. Certainly since the meltdown of 2008, foreclosure deeds are very low right now. There are only 33 foreclosure deeds for entire Plymouth County, more than the 31 in July, but 20% less than the 41 in August of 18. And through the first 8 months of the year, 46% lower than last year. And each year it's been lower than the year before. Foreclosures, while not a thing of the past, are certainly not as impactful as they were post-2008. Also, you'll see the same thing in notices, 53 foreclosure notices throughout Plymouth County in August, a little more than the 46 in July, but 25% less than August of last year. And again, for the first 8 months of the year, down 25%. You're going to see a listing of foreclosure deeds and notices per communities. In this particular month, the month of August, Wareham had the highest number of foreclosure deeds, with Brockton and Marshfield being second. But every community has been hit by foreclosures over the years. If you're someone that's in trouble, don't wait. Talk to a federal housing counselor as soon as you can, because the earlier you approach it, the more likely you are to be able to get a modification and save your home. We hate to see foreclosure deeds. That means a lender has taken back property from someone. As far as quick news are concerned, we did office hours at the Senior Center in Lakeville a couple of weeks ago. We're re-recording in Land Court, which is a great technological advancement at the registry. Our training room, which is free training on a hands-on computer of how to efficiently search our website, is always the first Thursday of the month. The next one that's available is Thursday, October 3rd. Sign up in advance. Again, there are only 8 stations. It runs from 9 to 11:30, but call our office, 508-830-9290, and sign up. Beware, there's a free property fraud alert on our website. Beware of scams by people trying to get you to pay a lot of money to get a copy of your deed. You can get a copy of your deed at one of our offices, Brockton, Plymouth, and Rockland for $1. And we'll soon be releasing our first phase of transcriptions. A lot of people no longer know how to read cursive, which is the beautiful handwriting that our original documents were written in back in the 1680s forward. That will be a great help to people going forward, that you'll be able to look at the handwritten cursive writing and hit a button and see a typewritten transcription. I have a great guest coming in the next segment. Bob Gleason of Boston Connect Real Estate will be talking about the current real estate market. So we'll see you in the next segment. Welcome back to the Register's Report. My name is John Buckley. I'm the Register of Deeds of Plymouth County. In this segment of the show, we do something educational in nature so that people understand the opportunities that are out there in the real estate market. We've had surveyors, appraisers, commercial real estate brokers. We've had lenders, all talking about what's going on in the real estate business, but our number one guests are always the realtors. So I have a great realtor with me today. I have Bob Gleason of Boston Connect Real Estate. Welcome, Bob, and welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you've been here before.
Yes, I have, yeah.
So share with our viewers a little bit as to how you got yourself in the real estate business.
Well, as you can see, I'm a senior, or
Yeah.
a baby boomer, I should say. Don't necessarily like being called a senior, but yeah, my real estate started back about 2007, just before the crash.
The meltdown, yeah.
The meltdown, yeah. And at the time, my daughter-in-law was working as a realtor for Jack Conway, and she had an over 55 development that she was working on down in Plymouth. So her and my son thought it would be a good idea for me to get my real estate license and to go down and work with Cheryl, which is what I did. So I worked there for a while, and then everything kind of just fell apart, as we all know. And so, but what I did do is I did maintain my license. I really wasn't active in real estate at the time, but I did keep my license and doing the continuing education that's required every 2 years. So I did always complete that, and I kept abreast of what was going on in real estate. And so my daughter-in-law, Cheryl, once again, she suggested that I contact Sharon McNamara, who's the broker owner of Boston Connect Real Estate in Pembroke, which is what I did, and she hired me, and that was about 2001, I think it was, 2002, somewhere around there. And so I've been with her ever since. And so basically what the areas that I work in, it seems like it's a natural progression of things for me, as I am working a lot with folks that are ready to move from their larger homes into something that's more manageable. And there's a variety of reasons for people to do that. So I'm still at Boston Connect. We're a wonderful little boutique agency in Pembroke. Recently moved from Scusit Street in Pembroke to Mattakesett, number 19 Mattakesett, which is directly across from Stop and Shop on Route 14. It's an old house that Sharon saw, and she felt as if that it would be a nice place to call home for her business. So she moved there over the summer after they did plenty of renovations. It's a beautiful building, and always there's someone there if anyone needs to come in and ask a question about real estate. There's always someone there to be able to help them. But of course, I want you to call me.
Yeah, sure. Well, you live in Kingston.
I do.
So that's pretty close to the new
Yes.
office.
Yeah.
And Sharon lives in Pembroke.
She lives in Pembroke. She's not too far away.
Right.
She
Though she'll never she's originally from Dorchester, she lets you
Yes.
know.
Oh, yes. And sometimes Dorchester does come out,
Yeah,
but it's a lot of fun.
yeah, that's great. That's a great little area,
It is. It's
Yeah.
it's in like a little hometown
Right.
area. The house is like, it was a private home at one point. It became a restaurant for a while, and I think it was empty for quite a period of time too. And then Sharon saw it and decided to make an offer, and it was accepted. And she's been there since about July, I think it is, somewhere around there.
Yeah, so a lot of people go back and forth and go through that area all the time.
Oh, yes, it's
Right down the street from Town Hall.
it is.
Yeah.
Right down the street from the town
And
hall.
one of my most, two of my most well-liked places is the pound right next to Town Hall where they used to keep the animals, and the herring run
And the herring
right
run.
around the corner.
Yeah, it's not too far away.
Yeah,
But this is a great location. It's directly across the street from the Stop and Shop,
Right.
and CVS is in there too.
right.
And it's a beautiful building, and the color scheme that Sharon came up with for her logo and her signs are, I think, very fitting for the area. They're white and blue, so they're very nice.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
And I know realtors do a lot through technology now anyways,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Absolutely. I wish I was a little bit better at it,
Right, well-
but it's a process,
Right.
learning process.
Right.
Right, right.
So let's talk a little bit about what we've seen through the summer, and as we really officially start the fall season today.
Today, yeah, it is today.
Seems like, with the interest rates being low, that it's the housing market's doing pretty well.
I would say so. There's a lot of transactions. Each transaction gives those people that are involved with it a new opportunity to continue their life. And like I said earlier, that I enjoy working with folks that are in a position now that their houses are a little bit too big for them. I fall into that category too. And the challenges that go with making the decision to move on are sometimes they stagnate people until something drastic happens, death of a spouse, or it comes to mind, divorces, it comes to mind too. But what I'm finding is that people with the bigger houses that have lived there, they can't take care of the yard anymore. Their utility expenses are continually going up.
Mm-hmm.
You have the mechanics in the house that are sometimes haven't been touched or updated in quite a long period of time, in some cases since those people bought the house, and it could be as much as 30 years ago. So roofs have to be replaced, electrical systems, the plumbing, the heating system and air conditioning systems are a big thing to be considerate of too. And I find too that most people, when they're searching for that, they begin their search online by looking for places that they can go. They live in Kingston and they want to move to sometimes they want to move out of state to be close to family and friends. Sometimes they want to stay in the area because this is what we know. We know Kingston, Pembroke, Plymouth, Plimpton. We know all of these areas. This is where we've been all our lives. And so they start looking online to see what's available.
It seems like the natural progression of going to a larger house because your family's getting larger or kids are getting older, and the other side of it, moving out of a bigger house once the kids have moved on, seems like it's slower now. People are staying longer in one place or the other, and some people said it relates to the uncertainty of the market and some remnants of the 2008 meltdown that got people a little scared. Have you seen that at all? And your specialty, as you mentioned before, is really people that are ready to downsize.
Correct. I really haven't heard too many people, because it's out of sight, out of mind now, 2008.
Sure.
It's something that we lived through, and at the time, the world was coming to an end.
Right.
But we lived through it like we always live through,
Right.
through events like this in America. But I think what's happening is that the most difficult part of it is, where are you going? And I think, myself included, not everybody wants to give up the 3,000 square foot house or the 2,500 or the 2,000 and then get a smaller house that's attached to another condo, for example, in an area that you don't know who your neighbors are. You don't necessarily know exactly the layout of the town that you're living in now. So, that's some real difficulty. And a lot of times, too, is that a house that they're living in, because of the square footage of the house, is valued pretty high. It's taxed pretty high, too. And so in order to entice a buyer to come in and buy that property is challenging. Because even though the house is beautiful, it's a beautiful location, it's one of those things where is this family, is it a move up? Are they in their 40s and moving to that eventually home that they have forever? I'm not even sure if that happens anymore. If anybody buys a house and stays there, it's not like Leave It to Beaver days, where everybody stayed in the same house all the time.
Right.
So the difficulties are finding a place to go that I have found to be most pressing. Yeah.
So let's talk about the two different sides of real estate representing a seller. Why don't you talk about some tips? And why don't you gear it a little bit towards older clients when they're looking to sell?
Sure.
Come up with, give our viewers some tips as to what they should do in preparation for the sale that aren't going to be a waste of money, by putting too much into it.
Well, I think, as always, that the first thing is that you want to do some decluttering.
Yeah.
Sometimes houses are oblivious to the person that lives there as to just how much clutter there is around, because you're accustomed to seeing it all the time. Your eyes don't deviate from, gee, I have this stack of magazines or newspapers or dishes that I haven't used in several years, and I've got older furniture that looks it too. And so I always suggest that that's one area that you should begin with. And not only is it going to make the house look better, but now you can see what the house really looks like. So for a potential buyer, when they do walk through your front door. Bathrooms and kitchens have always been and always will be big items for a buyer. It's hard to have a house that is square footage size, location size, style of the house. The mechanics are good on it, and the price is $500,000-$600,000, but the bathrooms haven't been changed. So now you're getting some folks coming in and they're looking at it and they're saying, oh, it's a beautiful house, location, it's in great shape, and so on and so forth, but this kitchen hasn't been, it's the same cabinets. There's nothing wrong with the cabinets other than the emotional looking at what the potential buyer is looking at. That doesn't really spark a lot of interest in it if they're looking at dollar signs as to what am I going to have to put into it. So a suggestion there is do some updating in kitchens and bathrooms, paint the cabinets, perhaps put in a new kitchen floor, update the bathrooms, put in new vanities, new toilets. Flooring can always be replaced. Will you get it back? Most likely, because you're going to get your asking price as to make up the difference that you put into it. I think to ignore that aspect of a house when you're selling and say, no, I'm not going to do anything with it, and then somebody comes in and offers a price that's substantially low than what you're asking for it, don't take it as an insult, take it as reality. Because that's what a buyer is looking at. You're looking at it from the point of view that this is beautiful. And it is in your eyes, but it's not in my son's eyes or
Right.
your daughter's eyes or
Right.
anything like that. It's different.
Yeah. So let's talk about the flip side. Someone's looking to buy a home. What are your first words of advice to them?
Make sure you can afford it.
Yeah.
Learn about what it is that you're getting yourself involved with.
Okay.
Speak to other professionals. Speak to an attorney. Speak to a mortgage person at a bank or a mortgage broker, whoever it is. If you know people that live in the town where you want to be moving into, talk to them. See what they think. How's the town school system? What are the services like in town? How are the roads? Simple things like that.
So what percent of the buyers you deal with are pre-approved?
A lot of them.
Yeah.
Probably, I recommend being 100%, all of them being, excuse me, pre-approved, because you don't know what you can afford. And if you go look at the $600,000 house, say, this is wonderful, I have to do a few things here and there. But you know what? You're only going to be approved for $350,000. Don't waste your time.
Right.
Don't waste your time. Build yourself up that this is what you're going to be able to do and where you're going to be able to be living, because it's just not going to happen. I think the banks, with regulators also, had realized that things were out of sorts back in the early 2000s, which led us up to 2008 when things melted down. And I think that they're trying to prevent that as much as they possibly can.
Clearly, there's a lot more buyer education going on than there was back then. Those lenders all over the place
Yeah.
run these sessions that people learn a lot about being a homeowner.
Yes, and we have lenders come into our office occasionally and speak about their new products and how they can impact a buyer and a seller. It's interesting that of boomers that have sold properties and are moving into new ones, about 60% of them have mortgages on the new property. And a lot of times they're buying single-family houses too. There is a certain percentage of people that like the idea of moving to the cities too. And the costs associated with that are different than living in the suburbs.
A lot of lending programs now require you to get buyer education courses.
They do. And you know, when you think about it, we may think that we know everything that there is about having a mortgage.
Yeah.
But truly, we don't necessarily know. There's always a little. It's nice to know how to get into something, but it's also nicer to know how to get out of something. Because once you sign the contracts, it's a signed contract.
So before I have you give your contact information, a 30-second review of where you think we're headed as we head through the remainder of the calendar year.
I'm hoping
Yeah.
that it stays where it is. Inventory is still light. It's around 3 months worth, which is kind of low, which kind of puts it's still in a buyer and a seller's basket that they can control the market a little bit because there's not that much for sale. But by the same token, you know, a buyer is only going to be able to afford something sensible for them. And so it's a balancing act. It's probably the biggest transaction that individuals make in this country.
Right.
And to take it purely on an emotional point of view, I like the color, I like the style, I like the location, that's very important. But what's equally and perhaps even more important is what happens when you know, you lose your job? What happens when the roof leaks? What happens? There's just so many things that we don't know that can happen. So I think my biggest advice is to talk to some professionals, or talk to one professional, talk to a realtor that can point you in the direction of people that you should be talking to, because not all realtors have all the answers either. And we need, and I know I need, to have other people to rely on to give me advice also.
So can you share your contact information with our viewers?
Oh, sure, I'd love to. My direct phone number, it's my cell phone number, is 781-856-6714. I do live in Kingston. The office, Boston Connect Real Estate, is located in Pembroke. We serve all of South Shore, Massachusetts, and the Cape. So we can cover a large area. My email address is bobgleason@bostonconnect.com. And I'd love to hear from you, and if I can help you in any way, or any of your viewers, I would be very thankful for that.
Well, as always, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for
It's
having me,
great
John.
to see
I
you.
appreciate
Yeah.
it. Thank you.
Great. Welcome back to the Registry Report. I want to thank Bob Gleason for the great job he did. And we're going to be a little tight with some of our history, but you're going to see on the screen a notable record related to the Brigg Shipyard. They built the ship Columbia, first American vessel to navigate the world. You're going to see Rocky Marciano's image. Rocky Marciano was in the news lately. It's a celebration of his tremendous achievements, the only undefeated heavyweight champion, an image of the Adams Public Library in Kingston, in one of our colonial records that we try to promote. The 400th anniversary is coming up very fast, and this is a colony record in 1686 whereby fines were an important part of the colony. A gentleman was fined for taking a Bible out of a meeting house. They were fined for having a child less than 9 months after they were married. And all these fines were used by the colony court to control people's behavior, and clearly part of the original colony. I want to thank Luna Green Baker, Christine Richards from our office for helping me put this show together, David Antoine, Ben Alexander, and Mark McKinley from PAC TV helping me put this show together. I share it with cable providers throughout Plymouth County for what for most people is the most valuable asset. So I'll see you next month. I hope you had a great end to the summer and have a great start to the fall. Thank you.